Hi, my name is Alan Speakman. I'm a member of Bob's CNC Facebook group, and I've seen a lot of questions from newbies, from people who aren't familiar with CNC and especially computers, and they have some basic questions about what machine should I buy and how do I manage files, etc. So I thought I'd create this paper. Let's take a look and see what it encompasses. I want to cover the basic PC information, and that's for people who may have no familiarity with computers at all. Maybe they're coming from a Mac background, or maybe they're just used to using phones, or maybe they just hate computers. That's fine. So I want to cover that. Let's see here. And also, once we cover the basics of the PC, I want to look at some example computers and hardware, and also the techniques I use for buying those things. And finally, I want to do a quick tutorial on file storage, drives, folders, and whatnot. So here we are. This is part one, the basic PC info for understanding and buying a PC for Bob's CNC control, actual design work, and in general, just usage. Let's start with this red box over here on the left. Let's see, what do I want to do? One of the first places to start searching for basic CNC info is a BobsCNC site. I should have had that running, but I can get to it very quickly. Let's try that. Hey, look, there it is now. A great place to start if you don't know. First of all, be aware that their help desk right here is very good. That if you really get stuck, that's a good place to start. Another place it's worth really checking out is their support manuals, documentation, getting started, troubleshooting, etc., etc. I spent a couple weeks looking around in this before I bought my E3, and it's very handy, so poke around in those things and understand there is always help out there from Bob's. Okay, let's see, what else have we got? Let's see, I'm making my prices high. This is for the complete computer newbie who just isn't familiar with these things. Yes, they are high, and more experienced people can get them cheaper, but I want to set the expectation for somebody who's pretty new to the realm. There's a number of machines you can use for CNC control and design. The PC, the Mac, the Raspberry Pi, Chromebooks, minis. I'm a PC guy, and I'll focus on that. I've used Macs, and quite frankly, I don't like them. Some people do, and you certainly can control and do design work on Macs, no question about it. But that's not for me. Raspberry Pis, those I think are pretty much relegated to controlling the CNC. I've never worked with them, but some people like them, so there you go. Big red flag here on the Chromebook. I would avoid Chromebooks. They seems to be a problem with Java, and without Java, there's a problem with the Universal G-Code Sender, the UGS. So I would avoid Chromebooks, or do a lot of research before I bought one. And the minis, the new minis are kind of interesting. I can see them easily controlling a BobsCNC, but I don't know about design work. As far as microprocessors, there's Celeron, AMD, Intel. Celeron is the Intel's lower-end processor. It will certainly work for controlling the CNC, no question about that. Design work, I think it's a little bit light, but there you go. AMD, I've worked with them quite a bit. I built computers with them, and I'm not crazy about them. Although some people do really like the AMD processor. They're known for being a very fast microprocessor. And of course, the Intel is my area. I love it. I love Intel. So there's another thing I want to touch upon here somewhere along the line, and that is just how I pick computers and pretty much everything else, including my E3. So we'll get to that. And again, the high prices do include other things that the newbie might not think about, like lighting and heat, extension cord, power strips, yada, yada, yada. It's right there. Okay, let's talk about the two areas I can see for the person who's watching this and reading this. CNC control and piece design, how you design a piece. I do a lot of design work, so I need a machine that's pretty beefy. On the other hand, the CNC control, you don't need much. Certainly, the i3, the Intel i3 is plenty. Single core or double core is fine. It doesn't take much to control one of the CNCs. So let's go down through this. Processor for the control is going to be, I would say again, the i3, 2 gigahertz and up. Nowadays is probably baseline, and that is plenty of horsepower to control BobsCNC. Plenty, plenty, plenty. RAM on a control machine, RAM 4 gigabytes and up. Sometimes people want to use their control machine to do some design work. So you're going to want at least 4 gigabytes, preferably 8, but 4 gigabytes and up for your control machine. Your hard drive, 256 gigs and up. Again, 256 gigs is light for design work, but if you have to, it will probably get you by. See, USB ports, very, very, very important. And I want to stress the importance of backups. So USB ports are fantastic for that. Nowadays, there are 2 flavors, the 2.0 and 3.0 or 3.x. The 3.0 is obviously much faster, but the 2.0 works. I've got my BobsCNC hooked up to my 2.0 port. Works fine, no problem. So, but if you can, move towards the 3.0. USB storage devices, yes, I love them, and they're great for backups. So there you go. Windows, the operating system. Windows 10 for the control machine, the CNC control machine. Windows 10 is plenty. Some people I've heard of people running their BobsCNC with Windows 7. So you've got a lot of leeway there. Buying a renewed computer, that's a big question mark. I'm comfortable with them. I have several of them. But then again, I'm both technician and engineer, and I'll tear a computer apart in a heartbeat to figure out what's wrong. So if you feel comfortable with that sort of thing, renewed is a great idea, actually. Yes, I would certainly, for a renewed machine, get the max. Usually it's around 3 years. HDMI is great if you want to attach another monitor. Again, for the CNC control machine, you don't need it, but I've seen people do it, so that's a choice you'll have to make. Wi-Fi, yes, you're going to need that because you're going to need to get Java. You'll have to download that. So you're going to need Wi-Fi. The mouse, yes. The keyboard, yes. The monitor. Your usual high-def monitor nowadays goes for about 150. And that's plenty for a CNC control computer. Let's see. Tablet and stylus, do you need it for the CNC control? Absolutely not. But you might want it. Some people are that way. So I would say final cost, including accessories, is probably going to be about $500 to $750 for a CNC control machine. Now, let's talk design. This is a more serious beast. This is a horse of a different wheelbase. Basically, you're starting to talk about the i5s and i7s. Quad, that means there's 4 microprocessors built into one. 3 gigahertz and up. The machine I use for design, I think it's 3 gigahertz. Let's see here. That's good. I like for RAM on a design machine, 16 gigs and up. 16 gigs should be fine. Storage like the hard drive. That is, I would say, minimum of 512 gigabytes, which is half a terabyte. That's a lot of storage. But again, you'll still have those USB drives. There they are now. And I would stick with a 3.0. They're very handy. I call them thumb drives. Some people call them flash drives, whatever you want to call it. USB storage, yes, 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 and yes. Remember, backups. DVD, yes, absolutely. Operating system nowadays, minimum is probably going to be a Windows 10. I try to run straight 64-bit. That's the way I'm moving all my operating systems and my applications. Renewed, I love them. Again, I'm comfortable taking a machine apart, so there you go. We'll get into that later, and I'll show you some sample machines. Warranty, yes, especially if renewed or expensive. Yes, a renewed warranty is usually $35, something like that. For your higher-end machines, they can be over $100 for 3 years. So I would, again, go with that warranty. I've had to use them several times. HDMI, absolutely. My design machine here is connected to my through the HDMI to my high definition TV, and that's 55-inch diagonal, and it's awful nice to do design work on a 55-inch screen. So yes, HDMI. Wi-Fi, absolutely. You've got to connect to the internet somehow. Mouse, yes. Keyboard, yes. Monitor, that's where things get a little bit funny. High-def monitor is fine, but nowadays the ultra-high-def monitors are big, especially in design work. So again, you're going to have to make up your own mind. Tablet stylus, I'm just getting into that, and I tend to say yes. I like the tablet stylus in design work. And the final cost for a design machine, again, I'm being a little bit heavy on the price, but the final cost, think about $1,000 to $1,500. There are some great machines out there, and I'll show you how to get a good machine for less. But in general, when you think about all the other costs, think about $1,000 to $1,500. So that's going to wrap up this this initial guide to the what I would consider a guide for newbies, PCs, CNC, in general for homework, work at home. If you're doing serious work like in graphics and things like that, you're going to want a design machine and follow these parameters. And if it's a simple stuff like word processing and maybe email, a CNC control machine type computer should be fine. So there you go. I think that will wrap this episode up. And now I just have to figure out how I'm going to stop recording this thing. Let us see here. Here we go.